April 23, 2013, Baltimore, Maryland, 4:47 in the morning. 40 FBI agents moved through the pre-dawn darkness as unmarked vehicles rolled to a stop outside modest homes in working-class neighborhoods. These agents aren't hunting drug dealers. They aren't arresting gang lieutenants. They are here for corrections officers, 13 of them, all women, all employed by the Baltimore City Detention Center, and all carrying the children of the same inmate. His name was Tavon White. He was serving an 11-year sentence for attempted murder. He was behind bars, and yet he was running an empire. This man wasn't just an inmate. He was a CEO in an orange jumpsuit. This wasn't a prison. It was a franchise. Tavon White didn't escape from the Baltimore City Detention Center. He didn't need to. He did something far more audacious. He made the walls work for him. The guards who were paid to contain him became his workforce. The institution designed to punish him became his platform. From a 6x8 cell, White commanded a smuggling operation worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. He fathered 5 children with 4 correctional officers. He purchased luxury vehicles for guards on the outside. He approved cell assignments. He decided who ate and who starved. When investigators later recorded his phone calls, they captured a single line that defined the entire scandal. "This is my jail." He wasn't boasting. He was stating a fact. To understand how a prisoner became a warden, you first have to understand the institution that surrendered to him. The Baltimore City Detention Center was not a fortress. It was a crumbling pretrial facility, a warehouse for the accused, the addicted, and the mentally ill. By 2009, it held nearly 4,000 inmates, despite being designed for less than half that number. The air conditioning didn't work. The plumbing failed. Mold crept across the ceilings. But the building wasn't the real failure. The people were. Correctional officers earned between $33,000 and $38,000 a year. Most were women. Many were single mothers. Nearly all came from the same neighborhoods as the inmates they supervised. Screening was a formality. Ethics training was a slideshow. Supervision barely existed. One officer later admitted there was no real chain of command, nobody was watching. And those 3 words became an invitation. Tavon White arrived in 2009 at 27 years old. He was a known leader of the Black Guerrilla family, a prison gang that had evolved into a full-scale criminal organization. But White didn't arrive with violence. He arrived with observation. He watched shift changes. He learned who was tired, who was lonely, who was desperate. Then he began to recruit. His first targets weren't the toughest guards, they were the most vulnerable. A young single mother pulling double shifts. An officer buried in debt. Someone whose life outside the walls was already falling apart. He started with conversation, compliments, attention. "You're different," he'd say. "I can see that." Then came the favors, a cell phone, a pack of cigarettes, a few pills. Each request was small. Each favor was documented. Each step became leverage. Eventually he told them the truth. "You're already in too deep. You might as well get paid." 1 became 2. 2 became 5. 5 became 13. They weren't victims. They weren't villains. They were employees. White understood that real currency in prison isn't money. It's access, information, and protection. And he controlled all 3. Through his network of corrupted guards, White ran a smuggling operation, generating tens of thousands of dollars every month. Cell phones that cost $40 outside sold for $800 inside. Suboxone strips were cut into pieces and sold for hundreds. Tobacco, pills, prepaid cards, even firearms flowed through the facility. White never touched the contraband. He approved it. He taxed it. Guards acted as mules. Inmates acted as dealers. The entire jail became a supply chain with White at the center. Violence wasn't his strategy. Control was cleaner. If an inmate resisted, White had him transferred. If a guard hesitated, White reminded her of what she'd already done. He wasn't running a gang. He was running a business. And he understood something darker. He understood loneliness. He understood exhaustion. He understood what happens when someone works 60 hours a week in a decaying institution and no one says thank you. He filled that void. One officer testified that White remembered her birthday, asked about her kids, and made her feel special. Another said she knew it was wrong, but she was drowning, and he made her feel like she was floating. White fathered 5 children during his incarceration. One officer tattooed his name across her neck, another across her wrist. One bought him a Mercedes-Benz registered in her name, waiting for his release. This wasn't romance. It was psychological infrastructure. Each child became a bond. Each gift a chain. Each secret a lock. They weren't falling in love. They were falling in line. By 2012, White believed he was untouchable. Wiretaps later captured him saying, "I make the rules. I'm the law." He spoke openly about weapons, about killing witnesses, about guards who worked for him. "This is my jail," he said, and he was right. The FBI had been listening for months. On April 23, 2013, they moved. 44 people were indicted. 13 correctional officers and 24 inmates. Charges ranged from drug trafficking to racketeering to conspiracy to commit murder. Investigators discovered broken cameras, ignored warnings, and supervisors who suspected corruption and did nothing. One investigator called it institutional blindness. Another called it complicity. Then came the betrayal. Facing decades in prison, the guards turned on each other. Texts, photos, and bank records were handed over. The tattoos became evidence. The cars became evidence. Even the children became evidence. And in the end, Tavon White cooperated too. He testified against his own network. His sentence was reduced. He will walk free. Many of the women he corrupted will not. The Baltimore City Detention Center closed in 2015. Officials blamed structural issues, but the real failure wasn't concrete, it was authority. Today, turnover rates in American prisons exceed 40%. Oversight remains underfunded. Correctional officers in most states earn less than the regional median wage. Power doesn't require freedom, it requires leverage. Tavon White didn't defeat the system, he stepped into the space it abandoned. The walls were still standing. The bars were still locked, but authority had already left. The question isn't whether this can happen again. The question is where it's happening right now.